What do you guys think of the Stagecoach investment? I found that to be very interesting. Shows you the power of management, the founder-led idea and everything.
And shows you the negatives of what's Peter Lynch call it, diversification. Sort of, and I think he compared it to Coke at one point there too, right? Where Coca-Cola is like this crown jewel business that is so good that the management team, I think, almost run out of ideas of what to do with the capital, so they start buying more mediocre businesses. And I think sounds like that's kind of what happened with Stagecoach, and it slowly just got worse and worse and worse, and then they had to backtrack a little bit, right, and get back on just focusing on the UK business.
I think a lot, yeah. They had to backtrack. I mean, they were trying to scale this thing, Scandinavia, Hong Kong, New Zealand, the US, and it just wasn't working. The cookie cutter approach just wasn't bearing fruit. So yeah, they brought the founder back and said, hey, right the ship.
Figure it out.
Yeah. And he did.
Would you guys consider that a turnaround situation, where possibly, because first of all, it's amazing that a business that's going downward, you can bring in an old guy and he rights the ship. That's pretty unusual. So I don't know what you guys' thoughts around that. Because
sorry, CJ, you go ahead.
Nope, I was done.
Yeah, yeah. I was just gonna say, I think it's a turnaround when you look at it at the overall business level, but in some ways it's not, because it sounds like the core original business was still sort of performing well. It's kind of just what's the Charlie Munger quote that was in that letter, like cutting away the cancer or something?
That's the surgery approach.
Yeah, that's the surgery approach. So it's getting rid of all the bad stuff. And I don't want to downplay how tricky that probably was to sell off businesses and probably fire people in the process and so on. But in some ways, I think that probably is an easier job than taking a mediocre business like, what's up, like say what Sergio Marchionne did with Chrysler, for example, and turning around an actually poor business that was underperforming. I'd argue that that's probably a lot more challenging.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about that?
With both the investments, say Costco and Stagecoach, they both have this underlying theme which is easy to understand but hard to actually operate. I feel like he tried to get that theme across both the investments that he was talking about. Yeah.
Right.
Do the simple things right.
That's right. I think a little bit about, and I haven't gone too deep into Apple and what happened when Steve Jobs left and when he came back, but that's kind of what that made me think of. Apple kind of, they got off course and Steve Jobs came back and he's like, okay, we're going to get back to simple and do this thing really well. This is our bread and butter. So that's what I think about.
Yeah, it seems like this is more of a, as Pabrai put it, like a focus mousetrap approach. So focus on the one business. But in the same letter, he talks about how there's always a main business that kind of spawns other businesses. I think the spawner framework came initially from this first letter, this 2002 letter. He talks about how there's this one jewel at the heart of a business, which can, produce the cash flow that you can invest into other spin-offs and anything else. I think that's kind of where the spawner framework really started.